Welcome everyone to Welcome everyone to Microsoft Dynamics.
I'm sorry. I'm hushing.
I did it too. Don't worry about it. I'll give it a third shot. Welcome everyone to Microsoft Dynamics Weekly. I'm your host, Noah Mosley, and a little bit different format today. Whereas I usually post these podcasts early Monday mornings, I'm rolling these out before Monday as we have a conference coming up next week in Chicago for Dynamics User Group. It's their big annual DynamicsCon conference, and the next several podcasts I'm releasing feature speakers from that conference. For this next discussion, which is my fifth DynamicsCon recording for the day, it's been a busy morning so far. I have Lenore Flower with us. Lenore is the owner of Data Plumber. Good afternoon, Lenore. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great, Noah. Thanks for having me.
Yep, I'm glad you could join us. You and I had just chatted before the recording started about gardening, which is a little therapy session for both of us. So good to have a fellow gardener on the phone with us here.
Absolutely.
So you have a session coming up on Wednesday.
hmm
Yeah. So
So go
that is
right
going to
ahead.
be that's going to be the first day of sessions on Wednesday. Tuesday is the partner marketing day. Are you going to be going out Tuesday?
I am indeed. And as a new business owner, I'm really excited to be attending the marketing event so I can learn from everybody there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm also just really excited to
Awesome.
be back in Chicago. I haven't been there for a
Yep.
few years, and it's a great city.
Hopefully the weather will be great for you. But I think everything is like in the hotel and in the same conference center. So you
hmm
may not have to get out at all.
hmm
Yeah. So that's great. Yeah. The marketing is a huge part of everything we do. And doing marketing on our side it's an ordeal. I'm not a marketer per se. I've just it's one of the many hats I put on every day.
Oh,
It
absolutely.
can be a little daunting.
Absolutely. And all of us are marketers to some extent these days. So the more I can
Yep.
learn and understand that, the better I can do my job. So I think
Yep.
it'll be great.
And you have your session on Wednesday morning. That's the 14th. Now, this is next week. So May 14th, 2025. Your session starts at 9:45 in the morning. It's a 1 hour session.
hmm
And if anybody's looking for it on the app or on the website, the name of it is D365 Data 101. And you're doing it by yourself. You're going solo here.
I
No
am indeed.
co-presenters. Awesome.
Yeah.
Have you presented before?
Yes, this will be my third time presenting at DynamicsCon. So
Awesome.
DynamicsCon was actually my first time speaking at a conference back in Arizona, and that was pretty special. I
Uh-huh.
did that on paginated reports, which is everybody's least favorite subject except for mine. So I like to focus on the stuff that I think of as the boring but essential stuff and show how maybe it's not quite as boring as people might think. And this session
Yep.
is sort of in alignment with that. I've noticed that when people talk about D365, oftentimes they say D365 as if it's just one app instead of a family with multiple apps. And they talk about the
hmm
data underneath like it is all going to function exactly the same way. And if you've only ever worked with D365 CE or D365 F&O, I think it's very natural to assume that all the other apps are going to work the same way. But having worked with on the consulting side with multiple D365 apps, what I've noticed is that there's oftentimes a situation where people say, "Oh, I know D365," without realizing that the underlying data infrastructure, the way that you have to work with the data, is fundamentally different for three different families of D365 apps. So this session is a beginner level session, but it's really meant for anybody who maybe knows one app but doesn't know quite what happens in the other ones, so that you can
hmm
understand when we talk about D365, hey, D365 BC data is going to work fundamentally differently from the way that D365 CE does and D365 F&O. You don't realize that unless you pop the hood and you get a chance to look at that. But by knowing that, I think we're much better positioned to have meaningful conversations and troubleshoot together, regardless of the role that you have. in any of these implementations or working on an ongoing basis with these D365 tools. So I'm quite excited about it, and I'm looking forward to sharing it next Wednesday.
Awesome. I know that everybody's looking forward to that as well. So when you do your presentation that morning,
Mhm.
do you focus, even though it could apply to all of our multiple 365 environments, do you focus during that session on any one in particular?
So I've broken it into several sections so we can take a look at the mechanics of each. And when I built out this training, the way that I framed it out is as the D365 applications being essentially families within D365. So there's a D365 F&O family that has a number of applications that all function on D365 F&O's underlying data logic. There's the D365 CE family that lives in the Dataverse house with Power Platform living right next door. Those two hang out all the time. And then you have D365 BC, which is, I think, in some ways the most different. And I describe that as sort of the younger sister of the family who's a little bit further away. You can still get everybody to Thanksgiving over at Dataverse House with all of that
Mhm.
data being centrally available. But how far you have to go depends on which of these three families your application is part of. And by framing it in that way, I think it's a lot easier to understand. Because otherwise, you
Mhm.
just look at this list of a dozen different applications and you're like, how does this fit together at all? But
There are a
we
lot of moving
also,
pieces.
yeah, there's a lot of moving pieces, but they do chunk out on the data side into those three key areas. So uh, the presentation talks through the people side of data a little bit about how different teams who are involved with these things, what they care about, what they focus on, a really introductory concept around how data tools work. So, for example, data tools specialize. What's on the front end of an application isn't the same on the back end. And the way that things show up overall in these applications isn't the same way, isn't as simple when it comes to making that data available for BI, data infrastructure and reporting. And then we go into how do we understand now that we have that fundamental agreement on how data works, big picture, how data within D365 families works. And I think by framing in that way, it's a little bit easier for everyone to get their heads around it and understand where those gaps are. At the end of the day, if someone's an end user, I don't mind if they don't remember all the details of the nuance, but I think it would be wonderful if they're able to at least take away from this that what they see in the user interface in a D365 application is not how the data is stored. And the steps to get information from one point to another are more nuanced than they may initially appear. So hopefully people will leave regardless of the role that they have, feeling more confident that they have an understanding of some of these broader complexities, makes it a little bit less alarming if you know what's going on under the hood, and that they'll be
Mhm.
more confident in talking to people in different roles to be able to fix and resolve issues together successfully rather than uh, hitting their heads together, which I know happens from time
Yep.
to time.
Yep. And on my side of my business, we work mainly with when we work with the BC and the F&O clients, it's the general ledger part of the
Oh yeah.
database.
Hmm.
But it sounds like you have a lot more that you're applying this to.
Right. So I'm really focusing on not just individual tables, but bigger picture. Um,
Hmm.
Understanding that, for example, we all heard about the common data model a lot a few years ago. I initially, before I was involved with all of this as a consultant, really thought that everything was going to have the same common data model. And then I got to know a little bit better the underlying infrastructure of data in D365 F&O. And I was like, okay, so there's some overlap here, but there's abstractions, there's entities, there's tables, there's a lot more going on here, which is why we don't have that clean integration the way that D365 CE does directly in Dataverse. Knowing that
Hmm.
alone changes the whole conversation. But if you're someone who has only ever worked with D365 CE and you join a D365 F&O project, you will probably start off thinking that you have a fundamentally different problem to solve on the data side than what you're accustomed to in D365 CE, because there's so
Hmm.
many additional steps necessary to make these things fit together.
And for the people attending or thinking about attending your session, it's marked as beginner.
Hmm.
Does it apply equally, or how does it break down across end users versus clients versus partners? Is it
Hmm.
IT staff members, accountants,
I've
salespeople?
I've deliberately written it in a way that I hope will ensure that there's something for everyone. I
Hmm.
believe that ultimately data is everyone's job these days. So
Oh, it
I'm
is.
going a little bit deeper. Yeah. I mean, even if you're an end user just inputting data on the front end, right?
Hmm.
You have a critical role in making sure that the data is correct and being able to have a meaningful conversation with the folks that maintain the ERP system, the folks that may be involved in a data migration potentially, if you're at that stage, or in the business intelligence and reporting side. All of those folks have different pieces of the puzzle. The point of this presentation is to make it easier for those different perspectives to fit together. So I
Gotcha.
am really hoping that I stick the landing on this one. I think I have. I've tried it a couple times at some recent events and it seems to work well.
Hmm.
But whether you're someone that is on the end user side or on the business intelligence side, or even an active implementer, even if you're an expert on one of these tools, I think there's something that I can teach you about one of the other ones that will be helpful to you.
Awesome. Um, you know, on the website here for DynamicsCon and on their app, which I haven't done, I have not looked at the app yet. I don't know if you have. Um,
I just
but
downloaded
on the
it.
website,
Hmm.
okay. As far as people contacting you, here you've got your LinkedIn information. I'm sure LinkedIn contact info is in the app.
Hmm.
There may be other means that you prefer as well,
LinkedIn
if
is
you wanted to share that with
fabulous.
anybody. Okay.
I'm on LinkedIn a lot. So anyone is absolutely welcome to connect with me there. The Hoova app is wonderful. I enjoyed using that at FabCon. And I will be helping to organize a couple of meetup events, including a newbie get together for anyone that's joining for the first time and may not know too many people, as well as for an introductory Doug User Group Washington, D.C. meetup. So if you'll be there in person, I'd love to see you and I'd love to chat more about any of these subjects. Uh, but if you're not going to be there in person and you're just listening into this, by all means, find me on Power BI DC if you want to join an event. And if you want to talk to me one on one, I'd love to see you on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And for this DynamicsCon conference, will you have a booth in the expo hall?
I will not. My company is a baby. It is just a few
Brand
months
new?
old.
Oh, a
Yeah,
few months.
yes. So I took a little bit of a sabbatical earlier this year, and I jumped in sooner than I expected on a couple of projects in March. So DynamicsCon is actually when I'm going to be finally launching my website. I just got my logo
Okay.
finalized, and I'm using basically this conference to give myself a hard deadline to get all of that stuff up and running. So. Bob
Okay.
Baresh can reach out to me next year. Maybe I'll have a booth then. But in the interim, I will be running around, chatting with people, and in general, having a wonderful time at one of my favorite conferences.
Yep. And this session you've got at 9:45 on Wednesday. It's in Water Tower, West Tower.
Uh-huh.
Um, I'm not sure. I get usually they set up the lunch area next to the expo hall. Um, do you have you decided if you're going to have like an area you're going to meet people at on a regular basis, like at lunch or something, or
That's a good
uh,
question. I hadn't thought about that too much. I was planning on really going with the flow for meal times and making full use of the app to see who might be
Yep.
available. But beyond that, I'll be floating around. I'll be checking in and seeing many of my friends who are speakers, their sessions as well. So I will be there with my bright purple hair, which is usually the way most people can find me. And
Okay.
I will be there with a cape,
Oh, well,
which I've
Cape.
decided to make. Well, every year DynamicsCon has they encourage their speakers and attendees to wear costumes. So
Okay.
my big thing that I've decided is that I'm going to make a cape with my brand new logo, and I will be running around in that. So I suspect I will be
Awesome.
easy to see.
I look forward to seeing the pictures. I will not make it next week, but we do
Oh,
have.
alas.
I
No,
know.
it's a
Yeah, I'll miss that
shame.
one.
You're missing all the good stuff. All
I
right.
know. I know. I do have Derek. He'll be there doing one session on Wednesday afternoon for financial reporting. So
Oh,
he's
cool.
representing us for DynamicsCon.
I will try to make a point to say hi to him. That sounds like a great session.
Yep, Derek Krebs. So yeah, I see your badges on here, veteran DynamicsCon speaker and premiering content for this session. Awesome badges there. You
Hmm.
get your LinkedIn account filled in for us. That's all great information for contacting you. And your new company,
Hmm.
congratulations on it being brand new, pretty much,
Thank you.
and on the looking forward to the website and logo and everything that goes with it.
You and me
Are you
both.
focusing? Are you focusing on a particular area? I mean, like nowadays, pretty much everybody just does global. I mean, we have clients all over the place for us.
Hmm.
Although we started mainly U.S. and Canada. I don't know if you have staked out an area that you're focusing on, or if you're just anywhere the technology leads you.
So I am much more focused on the type of client I want to help than the geographic location. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I like to think of myself as a training first consultant. So I love to work one-on-one with folks that need a mentor to help build out their data infrastructures. And that's really where I have the most fun. And I've done the work that I'm most proud of, where I'm able to build up a business intelligence team, especially someone who's taking the lead on it, in addition to helping them build out the infrastructure for their data systems and reports that work for their needs. So that's really what I prioritize. And that's where I've found the most joy as a consultant over the last few years. I'm also really excited about providing custom trainings, which is something I'm focusing on, especially during the first half of this year. But
Mm-hmm.
if someone was like, hey, we really need you to provide one-on-one support for someone in Japan, I'll get on a plane. I love that. So,
Yep.
to me, the most exciting thing is where you can really build that relationship and help build up somebody else to be that future leader for the data because when someone already knows a company well, they have that in institutional knowledge, which I really think is irreplaceable and so valuable when you're building out
Mm-hmm.
these systems. And they also usually bring relationships and connections that are already well built out within the company. And that enables them to create business intelligence tools that I couldn't make, even if someone who's quote unquote an expert in BI and data, the people who bring in the knowledge of how their company works uh, have so much to provide there. And that to me is where the most exciting work happens. It's not just building out a tool that's best practices, it's building out a tool that's best practices and meets the data culture and the goals of the company and can be sustained in the long term in-house by people who love and care for that infrastructure and the company as a whole. So
Awesome.
that's what I love to do. And I'm looking forward to continuing to do that in the future.
Good. Great to hear. Great having you here on the show with us. You also have you're organizing a new attendee
Ah,
get together or something.
So I just talked to the folks who are part of the Doug user group organizers. We just launched the Doug user group for Washington, D.C. And
Hmm.
during that call, I mentioned that I would really love to make it easier for new folks to get to know each other and to feel a little bit less intimidated. As someone who likes to think of herself as a bit of a recovering shy person, I know that I personally have gone to a lot of conferences solo because I was so excited and I talked my manager into it, and then I didn't know anybody, and it was really intimidating.
Yeah.
So, one of the
Yep.
things I'm really trying to do this year is to find ways to make sure that everyone feels included, everyone feels welcome, and that they're not flying solo for long, even if they show up there by
Hmm.
themselves. That's something that
Great.
my friend Leslie and I did at FabCon. We made a real point of trying to connect people and get to know a larger group. And it's something I really enjoy continuing to do now that I'm a little bit more established in the conference world.
Good. Awesome. So yeah, if you are brand new, Lenore is a great person to contact to help acclimate you to the conference area and all the ins and
Absolutely.
outs there.
Come and find me. I'll take care of you.
Good deal. All right, Lenore, I'm going to wrap up the session with you today. Thank you so much for joining me and sharing about the news about your session here. I hope your garden does well. And
Yours
we are
too.
looking forward to we are looking forward to the Cape pictures coming out next week.
Thank you, Noah. It's been a real pleasure.
All right. You have a great day, and we'll talk to you again soon. That wraps up this podcast for Dynamics Weekly. I'm glad you could join me. As always, send me your comments. Good and bad comments are welcomed, but constructive comments are preferred. Likes, shares, and reposts are appreciated. Subscribes are awesome as well. You can subscribe to Dynamics Weekly, the newsletter on LinkedIn, and you can subscribe to the podcast directly on YouTube. Thank you, and have a great week in Chicago at DynamicsCon.